The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, President Trump and also Israel pounding Iran. In the last little bit, Iran, though, however, sent a drone that hit inside the green zone there in Iraq, hit a big hotel, the Al Rashid Hotel, which is a hotel that so many of them go to, the dignitaries, when they go to Iraq, when they were visiting in Baghdad. It's a very, very well-known facility, and it's certainly an interesting location. They're trying to clearly hit civilian targets. And Iran also is hitting near airports. It hit into Qatar, of course, into Israel with cluster munitions, Dubai, Bahrain, and as I mentioned, Iran. So where is everything headed, guys? 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222, and you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Also, President Trump telling allies, guess what? It is time to shape up. That you better start doing your part, that the United States has been funding a lot of these things over the years. And Germany, for example, well, they are balking on President Trump's call to help, saying it is not our war. I think that is so dangerous of Germany. UK is acting like a wimp, like a total wimp. Keir Starmer, whose whole community is now so much intact with the Muslim community. They've got a Muslim mayor, of course, there in London. And what is he afraid of? What is he afraid of? All I can keep thinking is Winston Churchill is rolling in his grave. Keir Starmer looks like a wimp. He's like, oh, well, maybe we can sort of help, but maybe we can't really help. He is just like pathetic in every shape and form. And I say bravo to President Trump for saying it is time to get tough. By the way, you probably heard about Mayor Mondani and his estate tax now trying to drop it down to $750,000. Bill Ackman appropriately said, you know what? He is trying to drive people out so they can't live in New York, and he's trying to drive people out so they can't die in New York. So I guess Mondani's trying to get you on both ends. First here is President Trump, and he said just a little bit ago that they really are hitting their targets over there in Iran. And he talked about this island, Kharg Island, which is like 16 miles off the west coast of Iran. It's about a third of the size of Manhattan, but it is pivotal because 90% plus of Iran's oil goes through there. So this is a biggie. And he says, we didn't hit the oil facilities, and maybe the thought is that he might take over Kharg Island. Can you imagine? But he said, we took out all the military parts of it. So the only part that's left is the oil. Here is President Trump talking about that big success.
And as you know, we attacked Kharg Island and knocked it literally, destroyed everything on the island except for the area where the oil is. I call it the pipes. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but that we will do that. We can do that on 5 minutes notice. It'll be over. But for purposes of someday rebuilding that country, I guess we did the right thing. But it may not stay that way. Just one simple word and the pipes will be gone too, but it'll take a long time to rebuild that. We are aggressively dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, and ability to rebuild its missiles and drone capability is getting down to close to zero.
Drone capabilities nearly down to zero. That is an enormous success. And then President Trump also revealed something really interesting when he was talking to reporters late today. He said that there was a former American president that said, gosh, I wish I had done that during my time. I'm sure it wasn't Biden because he still probably can't speak. But here is President Trump. Take a listen to how he said it to reporters.
But they never had the chance. I never gave them the chance to use it. And other presidents should have done. I spoke to one of the former presidents who I actually like. I actually speak to some. I do like some people. It would be shocking. And he said, I wish I did what you did. Could have done it. other presidents, somebody should have done it. 47 years this went on. They call Iran the bully of the Middle East.
And speaking of the bully of the Middle East, Baghdad Bob of the Middle East is the Iranian foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi. And he's been making the rounds on some of the Sunday talk shows. This is pretty incredible. This guy, there are reports that his team is definitely talking to the United States, that he has presented sort of some terms for a ceasefire, and President Trump saying those terms are not satisfactory, that those are not real terms for a ceasefire. And yet, if you listen to Baghdad Bob, a.k.a. the Iranian foreign minister, he says, nope, we are here to fight till the end.
President Trump said this weekend he is not ready to make a deal with Iran because the terms aren't good enough yet. His administration is saying this war could last another 3.5 weeks or so. Has Iran asked for a ceasefire?
No, we never asked for a ceasefire, and we have never asked even for negotiation. We are ready to defend ourselves as long as it takes, and this is what we have done so far, and we continue to do that until President Trump comes to the point that this is an illegal war with no victory.
Illegal war with no victory. So publicly, at least, he sounds like he is still dug in. He sounds like he's not going anywhere. And then I want to play this doozy. This is cut number 13. This is also the foreign minister, because he was asked on CBS, hey, what's going on there? Because in Iran, you have shut off internet to average citizens, and yet you have internet. Why is that going on? And listen to actually what he said. Remember, this is the ruthless regime that is mowing down the protesters there on the streets.
I just do want to point out, you're speaking to us via Zoom. The Iranian people don't have open internet access, but you do. Why?
Well, because I'm the voice of Iranians, and I have to defend their right. So this is why I have access to internet to just have our voice being heard by the international community. But internet is closed because of the security reasons, because we are under attack, we are under aggression, and we have to do everything to protect our people. In any country, there are urgent measures taken for the sake of war.
So I need to have internet. I need to get out there to ramble to all of you because I'm, quote, the voice of the Iranian people. I think the average Iranian people would very much beg to differ. They would pick him as the last person ever to represent the Iranian people. There's also a whole bunch of new details tonight, you guys, about the Supreme Leader, too, as well. Reports that he may be gay, the new Supreme Leader. And of course, in Iran, they don't look too kindly at that. So could that be part of the reason that we haven't seen him out in public? Also, we're hearing that he may have been wounded, that he may have gone for a little walk, luckily for a walk in the garden, at the moment when the bombs came crashing down. Remember that first day when that big strike happened, which took out 40 people, including his father. But there are reports that he is seriously injured. President Trump was asked about it today. He said, I don't even know if he's alive or not. We don't know. A lot of people don't know, but it is interesting that we haven't seen his face yet. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show. Let's go to Robert in Brooklyn, line 4. Go ahead, Robert, your thoughts.
Hi, Rita. Thanks for taking my call. Well, on Catherine Cosby, on your Friday program, Catherine Cosby, you had General Jack Keane, and he pointed out that, so that was as of Friday, so of the 15,000 strikes that have taken place, whether they have precision missiles, land-based or airstrikes or ship-based missiles, out of 15,000, the Israelis have conducted 9,000 of that 15,000, and the Americans have conducted 6,000. So Israel has been quite the partner. Israel did 9,000 and the Americans did 6,000. Meanwhile, when President Trump is asking other so-called allies for help, they're basically turning their back on him. I'm not even sure if they're willing to help giving him a minesweeper. It's just totally terrible how this country has helped NATO, which now has become Islamicized and has become our enemy, basically. And when we ask for something as simple as a minesweeper, it seems very insensitive. Now, in terms of the Representative Keith Self, he's one of the co-chairs of the Sharia-Free Caucus in the House. He tweeted out today that now they have 51 members in the House who are part of the Sharia-Free America Caucus. And, you know, in one of the beginning meetings that they had, the caucus they had, they referred to a September 2024 JL Partners conducted a poll for Heritage Foundation. And according to that poll, it says 39% of U.S. Muslims support Sharia law. 39% of U.S. Muslims support Sharia law.
Wow.
And 33% support declaring Islam America's national religion. Okay, so,
wait, do me a favor, Robert. Do me a favor. Go back through those two numbers. 39, tell us again, the 39 and the 33?
Okay, right. And this was quoted by the members on the Sharia caucus. 39% of U.S. Muslims support Sharia law. 33% support declaring Islam America's national religion.
Wow.
Okay.
That is stunning.
Now, you could. I suggest you look at the poll yourself. JL Partners conducted it for Heritage Foundation. There has been some criticism of the poll, so you might want to look at it. But even if it's not quite 39%, even if it's 30%, so whatever, it's unacceptable that such a huge number of a certain population supports Sharia law. You know, people came to the United States. They escaped the religious persecution, in many cases going back to the revolutionary times, escaped the persecution of the Catholic Church. They came to the United States for religious freedom, for religious tolerance. And we're bringing in populations here that a significant percentage of them, according to that poll, and it's quoted by at least some of the members in Congress have quoted the poll, 39% of U.S. Muslims support Sharia law. Also, in the past few weeks, there's been 4 terrorist attacks. 4 terrorist attacks. You had, in Michigan, you had that temple where you have all those kids who were in session. You had the lieutenant colonel who got murdered. You got the case in New York City where you had the miracle where those AIDs didn't go off, and you had those hero police officers. And I want to point out, Mamdani is worse than any terrorist, because Mamdani, he wears a suit and he's trying to cut back on our police department. Thank God for our police department. Thank God for that hero chief with the 2 stars on his lapel and the sergeants who risked their life. They deserve Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor is given to people without any care about their own life. They put their life at risk.
I agree, by the way. I agree. And that was that picture, Robert, was so powerful of the guy jumping and running towards those terrorists, those folks who were throwing the bombs. And I agree with you. I don't ever want to hear Zoran Mamdani talk about defund the police ever again. And I do think it is really pathetic that he had Mahmoud Khalil at the Gracie Mansion, which is the people's house. It's the mayor's house, and yet doesn't have these police officers, doesn't have these real heroes there. And he still is all over the place on answers about his wife, who liked all those different tweets, long live Hamas, essentially, right after October 7th. It really is. She's a private citizen. She can say what she wants. And then just the other day in Times Square, there was a rally, you guys, and we're going to play some clips of that, of people in Times Square saying, shame, shame, shame. We must stand with the Iranian regime. It was a pro-Ayatollah protest, anti-American protest on U.S. soil on Al-Quds Day. Not just in New York, but there was one in L.A. There were one in these different cities. It really is disgraceful. And that's why I think a lot of the things you're talking about are eye-opening and profoundly important right now, Robert. profoundly. We have to maintain our American values. And people who want to assimilate, that's great. They have no criminal history. That's our criteria. But if they don't like either, get them the heck out of here. 1-800-848-9222. And everybody will continue with your calls after the break.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And there is a cooling of relationships, there's no doubt, with President Trump and some of our allies if they're not stepping up. Let's go to Liz in Florida on line 4. Go ahead, Liz. You're here on the Rita Cosby Show.
Hi, Rita. To me, it is, I'm sure to everybody, it's very upsetting that these European countries are not on board. Shame on all of them. Israel has been taking the brunt of it all. They're surrounded by enemies. They have constant missiles bombarding their country, and all they want is peace. And can you imagine if that happened to them? They just had a taste of it when Iran sent to Dubai and the American allies. So let me tell you what happened last night. There was a friend of a friend's wedding in Israel, and the sirens started to go off, and the whole wedding party went into the mamad, the safe room, and instead of just crying in the mamad, they were singing and dancing. They kept the wedding going, and then when it was safe to come out, they continued the wedding. I mean, what kind of life is this, right? And I asked my daughter and son-in-law to fly here. It's safer, and they said they won't leave their home. And I started to think, where is it really safe? But the European nations have no clue how dangerous Iran's regime is, and thank God for President Trump. All he is trying to do is protect the world.
Yeah, and some of these countries have just been so complicit. I mean, they were complicit with everything with Russia, and they felt the threat of Russia. Yet some of them were still buying oil from Russia. Not all of them, but some of them certainly were. And you're right, they better step up. All they're asking for, he's saying, listen, minesweepers, a few things, we'll do the heavy lifting. And you're right, the Israelis deserve to live free, and everyone else.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. Rita Cosby is on. The Rita Cosby Show presents Back the Blue.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Abington, Massachusetts, where a police sergeant, Stephen Marquette, responded to an early morning call. And when he did so, he didn't think it would lead him to stepping in front of an oncoming train. But when the 30-year veteran of the department arrived there, he realized a woman reported to be walking in the streets, which were covered in snow, had actually stepped onto a commuter rail track. With an oncoming train barreling towards her, the officer didn't hesitate to jump onto the tracks himself and pull the woman out of harm's way. Body cam footage just released shows him rescuing the woman just before the commuter rail train sped by, literally a few seconds earlier. He wrestled the struggling woman to the ground, kept her safe as the train whistled by. He said, I have never experienced anything like that in my career. He said, I was not going to let that woman die alone. If it meant injury to myself, it did not matter. I was going to be a bright light on her darkest day. How incredible and amazing that she survived, he survived, both of them with minor injuries. And boy, we are lucky to have our great men and women in blue. Well, some of these protests that have taken place, as we were talking about, they are pro-Hamas, pro-Ayatollah protests. Yes, you heard it right, in the United States. And if you look at some of the people that are protesting, some of them are gay, some of them are women. I don't care what their sexuality is, but it's ironic that they're protesting for the Ayatollah, for a regime that clearly doesn't like gays, that throws gays from the roof. Yet these people in the United States and some of these women who, get stoned to death? And they're out there protesting for the Ayatollah against America. I really think it's so disgusting and it's so shocking. And yet, here they are on the streets of New York talking about how much they love Hezbollah and Hamas. You can't believe it.
Say it loud and say it clear. Say it loud and say it clear. We support Hezbollah here. We support Hezbollah here. Say it loud and say it clear. Say it loud and say it clear. We support Hezbollah here. We support Hezbollah here. Say it loud, say it clear. Say it loud, say it clear. We support Hamas here. We support Hamas here. Say it loud and say it clear. Say it loud and say it clear. We support Hamas here. We support Hamas here.
That's amazing. We support Hamas here. We support Hezbollah here. And here's a little bit more. This insanity on the streets of America.
We proclaim our support for the Islamic Republic. Shame, shame, USA! Shame, shame, USA! Iran is the central pillar of the struggle against U.S. imperialism and Zionism today. The Islamic Revolution in 1979 served as the catalyst of anti-imperialism and anti-occupation globally.
Like the mullahs are Mother Teresa. And if you thought it got even crazier, here is Joy Reid. She, of course, was on MS Now. Now she's on a podcast. And I think she's just trying to get attention or something. But she is essentially saying that the United States and Iran, one of the most, if not the most repressive regime in the world, that they're essentially the same. Does this make any sense to any of you? Take a listen to her.
Our regime has secret police. They have secret police. Our regime is oppressing women, taking away abortion rights, taking away women's rights in like 26 states, some states where they're trying to have the death penalty for having an abortion. They also oppress women. They have the highest rate of women who are in STEM careers. We're kicking women out of the military, out of university. We're saying that DEI means women can't be hired for high positions in the sciences. We're marginally better. And we're doing it for Christianity. They're doing it for Islam, right? Yeah. So it's like we don't get told those things because it would take away the kind of American exceptionalism narrative.
American exceptionalism is not just a narrative; it's a reality. And yet, I guess maybe she loves Iran so much. Maybe she should live over in Iran and see if she could say those kind of things against the regime if she doesn't like something that they do. See how they would accept that over there. These people have no clue how lucky they are to be in America where there is free speech, even as abhorrent as what we just heard. And yet, also, here's House Minority Leader, guys, Hakeem Jeffries, because he continues to undermine this administration. It's like Trump bad, no matter what he does, even if he's doing these heroic things to fight for the free world and to make sure the world's biggest state sponsor of terrorism doesn't get a nuclear weapon. That's not a noble enough mission for somebody like Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Leader. He continues to say that it's clueless, it's rudderless, and essentially this war is no good. And I think this is really reprehensible from someone who's elected from Congress. It just shows they will do anything to try to undermine Trump, even undermine America.
In terms of Republicans, what's clear is that from the very beginning of the Trump presidency, these extremists have functioned like wholly owned subsidiaries of the Trump cartel, continuing to be nothing more than reckless rubber stamps for Donald Trump's extreme agenda, as opposed to functioning like a separate and co-equal branch of government. And what is clear to me is that Donald Trump's war of choice that Republicans are supporting was poorly planned. There was no plan as it relates to dealing with the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. There was no plan as it relates to evacuating thousands of Americans who for days after the conflict was stranded. There were no plans to deal with the fact that Iran was going to strike out at our allies in the Gulf states throughout the region. And now this war has intensified. So more than A dozen countries are actually involved, and there's no clear plan to end this conflict in a way that inures to the benefit of the national security interests of the American people.
So it's not in the Americans' interest. We shouldn't be doing the war. And meanwhile, he's had such unbelievable success. They've hit 7,000 targets, the U.S. You heard from Robert earlier. Before it was 6. Now it's 7 on the U.S. side. And taken over Kharg Island, essentially. They may fully take it over and even take over the oil reserves, trying to just get a little help from their European allies when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think it's a lot to ask. And I'm glad that President Trump is stepping up for America and saying, you guys better start paying up and start trying to help. Maybe I just need a little minesweeper or two. They've hit 7,000 targets. U.S., Israel hit over 9. And he's saying, do you have maybe a minesweeper boat or two? Could you just help a little? I think a lot of what Trump is doing is testing the waters. And some of them are failing the test big time, like the UK and Germany and a few others. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Alice in Ohio. Go ahead, Alice.
Little patience with the European leaders who are saying this is not their war. Well, by the way, if it is your war, if you want gas or petrol, to put in your car, and something else, we rebuild your country after the war. You owe us. We're all in this together. I have very little patience with our U.S. politicians who want to defund the police. They want to defund the military. Who do they think they are? They are no more, they have no original thought. They're parroting what they're being told to say. My African gray parrot makes more sense. These people are disgusting. These women who are praising Hamas, how would they like to wear a burqa or a hijab? The only benefit is that you'll never have a bad hair day, but you'll lose your identity. I don't know what's the matter with these people.
I don't know either. And they're out there with a straight face. Some of them you can see their faces, and you heard them. They're chanting, Hezbollah, Hezbollah. We love Hezbollah. We love Hamas. I mean, we love a group of people that butchered and raped and maimed, thousands of people on October 7th, killing 1,200 of them, including Americans. And they're cheering for it. That's like, we love Hitler. I mean, it's shocking to me. It really is. It's like a new low every time I see these people.
These people have never been in a country when there's a problem. I was in Frankfurt when Carter botched trying to get our hostages out. They need to go to Paris. You could still see the pockmarks in some of the buildings where they were hit with bullets. I went to London. I was based there for 5 years. I went back some years just not long ago for a reunion, and you can't recognize it. They have taken over 8 major cities in the UK. London is toast. There are places where there are bobbies who are standing outside of areas, do not go in. The same thing in Paris, the same thing in Brussels. These people have never been someplace where you're an American, and as Americans, we look like Americans. There's something about us. And when there's a problem, they just don't understand. I'm at a loss. Maybe they need to really have the hell scared out of them.
Yeah, I don't, but I feel like what more could be scarier than a terrorist regime getting a nuclear weapon? And right, you know what I'm saying? That to me is probably the most frightening doomsday scenario, a terrorist regime that clearly would use it against its proxies. I mean, look what they're doing now. They hit tonight a hotel in Baghdad. They're hitting civilian targets. They hit hotels in Dubai. There were hit a couple civilian apartment buildings in Bahrain and elsewhere. So these people would absolutely use whatever weapon they had, which is why you never want somebody like that to get access to it. And I say bravo to President Trump. By the way, Alice, who do you think was that other president? I thought that was an interesting. Let me play that again. This is cut number 7, Alice, and I'm curious who you think this president is that President Trump was referring to. Listen to this.
But they never had the chance. I never gave them the chance to use it. And other presidents should have done. I spoke to one of the former presidents who I actually like. I actually speak to some. I do like some people. It'd be shocking. And he said, I wish I did what you did. Could have done it. Other presidents, somebody should have done it. 47 years this went on. They call Iran the bully of the Middle East.
So a president, then he was asked who did it. Somebody asked, I think, was it Bush? And he goes, no. And then somebody said, was it Clinton? And he said, I can't tell you. So I think it's Clinton. But I thought that was interesting that I guess some are telling him privately, I wish I had had the guts to go after Iran like you do. Like, boy, oh boy, are you brave. And that, I think, is from a Democrat.
What about Obama? Obama, I think, had to be talked into assassinating Osama bin Laden.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And remember, let's not forget, Joe Biden was the one who was against it. Remember, Robert Gates said Biden was on the wrong side of every important foreign policy decision. And he was the guy in the room that night that didn't want to make the call to take out Osama bin Laden. Can you imagine? You got all this intel. You got, obviously, what turned out to be a perfectly executed plan. So I guess he would have been happier with Obama, Osama bin Laden roaming around, right down the street from Pakistan, too, no less, Alice, too, as well. Let's not forget that. Alice, thank you very, very much. Such important comments. And it's shocking, these young people. It's like we do need to do something. I agree with you. Some sort of wake-up call to them for them to realize, A, how dangerous what they're saying, how ludicrous what they're saying, and I think also just how destructive. I mean, they just sound stupid. I mean, it's almost incredible. Like you almost think it's a joke that they would be on American soil and saying, essentially, we love Hamas, we love Hezbollah, we love terrorist groups. And I'd like to know also who's paying them, because that's the other big question, Alice. Who's funding these people and why? Who do you think is behind it, Alice? What do you think is who do you think is the puppet master?
Well, George Soros comes to mind. Well, his son is more radical than he is, and there is money that's coming over, I believe, from Hong Kong, and it's probably being washed out. You don't know how many times before it gets here. But Soros is big on it. He nearly took down the Bank of England, and he's terrible. I think he has a lot to do with it, and his son.
Yeah, and some of these charity. Well, I think some of these charities that kind of go in between. There've been reports that some of that money that's gone to like these open society groups, and then it goes to fund these other 501c3s, and somehow it ends up in these different groups out there. Also, one name that comes up a lot is this Neville Singman. That's the guy who's an American who lives in China, but he seems to love China a lot more than he loves America. And he seems to be funding a lot of these protests, too, which would mean Chinese tentacles, too, as well. So I do think we need to find out. I mean, it's just I cannot believe somebody, who's of college age, most of them or older, out there shouting. And when I see, again, gays and women out there, the two groups that the Iranian regime would certainly have no sympathy for. They're the most repressive, most horrific regime in those regards out there protesting for them. I don't know what to say. They're either dumb or stupid or ignorant or dangerous or a combination thereof. Alice, thank you very, very much. We're going to continue with your calls after the break, guys. 1-800-848-9222. And you are listening to The Rita Cosby Show.
The Rita Cosby Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network. This is The Rita Cosby Show.
And I don't know about you guys. If you were watching the Oscars last night, I always enjoy watching the Oscars. But Oscar-winning actor Javier Bardem, who was in the F1 movie, he's facing a lot of backlash over his comments that he made at the Academy Awards. He was up there presenting Best International Feature Award. And then suddenly, right before announcing the winner, he says, "No to war and free Palestine." I guess he has had a history, according to many people, of bashing Israel through the years. But I don't feel these politics have any place at the Academy Awards. This is why people are so turned off by the Academy Awards. A lot of people say that the numbers have just been down over the past few years. I was just hearing the other day that I think in 2 years, I believe it is, that they're going to go to YouTube because YouTube bid for it and outbid, I guess, ABC, because ABC was probably like, enough. You know what? The numbers maybe just don't play. And maybe people are just so offended. Remember a couple of years ago, it was bash Trump, bash Trump, bash Trump. Oh, yeah, I'll take the award, too. Bash Trump, bash Trump. And last night we did see a little bit of that, too. By the way, you guys know I also always read your social media at Rita Cosby on Twitter, now known as X. And Sal says, Rita, any type of warfare is a horrible situation. But it seems that some of those waffling European countries have forgotten how America helped them during World War II and footing most of the bill for NATO. I agree. They seem to be incredibly ungrateful. Let's go to Melvin in Indiana on line 5. Go ahead, Melvin, your thoughts tonight.
On pieces of property.
So let's give her the 23rd.
Go ahead, Melvin. I can't hear you. Go ahead.
Anything.
Melvin, go ahead. Melvin, we're losing you. Call back. Let's go to Mike on the Lower East Side. Go ahead to Mike on line 4. Mike, go ahead.
How you doing, Rita? Yeah, our politicians have taken it for granted that freedom of religion was supposed to be the way our Constitution said it. But freedom of religion was only meant to be when it was written for Christian denominations like Catholics, Protestants, Baptists, Greeks, Greek Orthodox, stuff like that. It was all about Judeo-Christian beliefs. It wasn't about cults or Muslims or any of that. It was just for different denominations of Christianity or Judeo-Christian beliefs from the Hebrew Bible. Okay, and now because we took it for granted that it's going to always be that way, we never considered that this was going to happen.
That's a powerful point, Mike, because a lot of people never ever imagined that we'd have a Muslim mayor. You look at what happens in London, they've got a Muslim mayor. You look at what was happening at Gracie Mansion, the hosting of Mahmoud Khalil and others. Boy, oh boy.
Thanks for listening to The Rita Cosby Show. You can hear The Rita Cosby Show weeknights at 10 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.